Baseball on SportsTalk Mississippi. We recap the weekend, and we do that with the head coaches at Southern Miss, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. First up, Scott Berry on the Farm Bureau phone line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. Coach, I know you want to be greedy. When you get the first three, you've got the sweep in the crosshairs, but a weekend where you get 3 out of 4, it's hard to be too upset with that, isn't it?
Well, it is, unless you're at the end of doing your body of work and you have that opportunity of getting to sleep. It certainly it leaves a little bad taste in your mouth. But with that being said, Richard, I'm proud of our guys for coming out, winning 3 games, and winning the series. In previous years, 3 games would have gotten you a sweep, but in this post-COVID time, with the way our conference is structured now, 4 games has to be played, and it requires you beating the team 4 times, and it's hard to do that, in all honesty. So yesterday wasn't our best game of baseball, and Western Kentucky had a sense of urgency to salvage one and make their ride a little better ride home for certain. So I'm grateful for winning the series in 3 games.
I know you don't worry a whole lot about this, but I do think it's worth maybe just to touch a conversation. Sitting at 18 in the RPI, strength of schedule is at 17. You're now ranked in the D1 baseball top 25. I think that's for the first time this season. What does that mean to you? Does it just speak to the overall body of work and kind of the consistency throughout the course of the season, the fact that your team has gotten better and has played better, or does it just not mean anything?
No, it certainly means a lot to me, because I think this team has shown the progress in growing up from where we were several weeks back. I mean, at one point we were going through a lot of growing pains in that non-conference period of our schedule, and since that time we've really matured and grown up a great deal and learned to compete and learned to have confidence. I mean, we're hitting .253, which is still not where you would like to be, but it seems like that a lot of batting averages around the country are down. But, back there 6 weeks ago, we were sitting in the 220s, so we and didn't have the wins in the win column like we wanted. So, and certainly weren't worthy of any kind of ranking or recognition. So I'm proud of our guys, our coaches, and everything that has gone into where we are to date in this season, and being recognized for the total body of work that we've been able to put together so far.
Kind of sticking with the theme of what you just said, is there a scenario where if you rewind 6 weeks, maybe you don't win back-to-back 6-5 games where you have to have, late comeback, big hits throughout the course of the game?
I agree. Oh, yeah, I definitely. I think our go-to guys at that time were off to a slow start, so the younger guys are kind of looking for that leader and kind of looking for who's going to take us through this. And since that time, the Montenegros, the Lynches, and the Trimbles, who even Trimble as a COVID freshman, he's a very good player. Those guys have really stepped their games up and really kind of shown the way. And I think it's just follow suit with the rest of them.
All right, so game 1 Friday night, 6-5, and you have to score a couple of runs late. What was the key in that game for you guys, coming from down 5-4 to going up 6-5 in the 8th?
Well, I think the key is what we've been able to do the past few weeks, and that's to not give in, to stay in the middle of the ring and keep punching back when they punched. And early in the year, I think we would have got on the ropes and took it. But now when we do get on the ropes, we come off from it. And of course, we equate boxing a lot with baseball, and just the way you've got to persevere and stay in the game. So that's what I saw in that game. When we came in and gave that 4 spot up, certainly it didn't look good, but there in the 5th, Trimble gets a hit by pitch to lead the inning off. Charlie Fisher, our 3-hole hitter, he leaves the yard, and then Sargent, our first baseman, comes back and hits a home run as well. So, we took that lead back and we're able to hold on to it.
So 6-5 Friday night, 6-5 game 1 of the doubleheader on Saturday, and then you get just an incredible performance from Ben Etheridge on the mound in game 2 of the doubleheader, game 3 of the series. 7 innings, 3 hits, 11 strikeouts, and no walks. That's about as good as it gets, Coach.
Yeah, he was really on. And, he didn't start the game that strong, in all honesty. There was an inning there that he had to pitch around. I think they had runners at first and second. It was in the third inning, and with one out, he had to pitch around that. But, the first hitter of the game, he hit, first pitch, he hit the guy. And I thought, oh, Lord, here we go. But I'll tell you, as things got going, about the fifth inning, there was like another gear that kicked in on him, and his pitchability just became, really, really good, and he got into a rhythm, and he got a lot of swing and misses, and retired the last 14 hitters of the game. So he was recognized today as Conference Pitcher of the Week for our conference, and rightfully so. He's just a young kid. He's a COVID freshman who was a freshman All-American last year, and has really developed nicely into our number 3 starter this year.
Is this finals week for your guys?
It is, yes.
Isn't it crazy to think that we're talking graduation this coming weekend? It's unbelievable how fast the spring has gone.
Yeah, it really has. Of course, we cut out our spring break at Southern Miss, so we rolled on through it trying to keep people on campus instead of going out and bringing COVID back to us. So it sped everything up a little bit. So you're right. We're in April and we're taking finals, and I don't ever remember that happening.
Have you guys, I don't think I really remember this. We've seen some pockets of games that have been canceled across the country with COVID-related issues, but you guys have managed to stay pretty much clear of that throughout the season, haven't you?
You know what, Richard? We have at Southern Miss, and our whole league has. Not one team, conference-wise, has been affected since we started the conference play. Now, prior to that, I don't know anybody that was jeopardized by that. In all honesty, I don't remember if they were, but we have not one time. So I feel like whatever the plan that we have in place, which is testing twice a week in our conference, has certainly worked out. Of course, we take all precautions with our teams, and hopefully everybody else has. But I think we're starting to see the decline, obviously, across the country. But we've been able to. Our conference has really had no issues whatsoever.
All right, so it's not 4 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, but it's still Southern Miss and Rice coming up this weekend. And I know just traditionally that's been such an important series that has, determined a league champion on a number of occasions. How big a deal is that coming up this weekend for you?
Well, to me, it's no bigger than the series we just got through playing. Where we need to be with the big picture is we need to just control what we can do and what we do. And that's go out there and play a team that Rice traditionally has the ability to beat you, and not only over the prior years, but, this year. So they're Division I players. They're coached well. There's a reason they're playing at this level, and they practice hard. So, they're going to give us everything we want. I know that. It's just another game on our schedule, but it's the most important game right now. And it happens to be that Friday at Rice. And that's the way we need to look at it.
Yeah, so 4 games coming up against Rice this weekend in Houston. I haven't asked you about this in a while, and certainly hope the news is okay. Any update on your end from Coach Palmer with his progress and kind of what he's been going through for, good grief, I guess it's been almost a year now.
Yeah, it'll be in August 10th, I believe, is whenever he suffered the stroke. But actually, a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, they actually did the reverse craniotomy where they put the skull piece back on his head that they had to take off back in August to let the swelling go down. So that has been off ever since last August. So they were able to put that back on. No issues whatsoever with that. But he does remain there in a rehab facility in Collins, Mississippi, trying to get better. So please, everybody, continue your prayers and thoughts for him with that.
I know it certainly has been a long, long road, and for those people that are close to him, it's been hard to go through, but we'll continue to keep him in our thoughts and in our prayers. Scott, always enjoy the visits on Monday. All the best to you in Houston coming up this weekend.
Thank you, Richard. I enjoy them too.
That's Scott Perry, head baseball coach at Southern Miss. After the Golden Eagles win 3, Bureau Chris Lemonis joins us right now. His team coming off a weekend trip to Nashville. Vanderbilt wins 2 out of 3. Mississippi State gets the middle game. Coach, you obviously always want to win a series. Sweeps are great. avoiding getting sweep is probably next in line on that. What'd you take away from this weekend kind of on the whole?
Well, obviously we played a really good team with Vanderbilt, and those two starting pitchers are pretty special for those guys. And, we got dominated on Friday night by Rocker. He was really good. And, as soon as he got the lead, he just took off with it. I thought we played one of our best games of the year on Saturday, beating Leiter, and Will Bednar pitched a great game. And then, yesterday's game was frustrating. We jump out there, have a lead, don't hold the lead, and, offensively we just don't do much in the latter parts of the game. So a little bit of everything, and I know our guys are very disappointed coming home and not winning that series.
The middle game, the Saturday night game, the early home run from Rowdy Jordan, how much did that kind of set the tone for what was to come on Saturday night?
I thought it was huge. I mean, we talked about throwing punches and getting good swings off early, and man, when your leadoff hitter hits one like that, it creates a lot of energy in the ballpark, and gave us a little bit of boost there to start, and I think it carried through the whole game.
How good was Bednar?
He was good. It was pretty much I was interested to see how he was going to pitch. I mean, it was a big stage, big opponent, and lost that tough game last week, the week before, and he hasn't lost much in his career here. So he came back and kind of worked his tail off this week and competed like we thought he would.
Coach, you're entering a portion of your schedule that maybe somebody like myself in the media would call easier. I'm sure you won't. Do you ever think about the word resume? Do you ever think about, okay, this is where we are in the season and how we're stacked up right now compared to the other teams around the country in terms of hosting and things like that?
Oh, we do. Not so much the hosting. It's just who we've beaten, what have we done. We talk about it every midweek because we play so many good midweek teams. When we come in this morning, we look up, and some of the teams we played earlier in the year, the Tulane is leading the AAC. Southern Miss is top 25 team right now. I mean, Louisiana Lafayette, you're looking at all these teams, and we talk about building our resume all the time. And all you can do right now is go out and take care of business the next one. It's just this last month or so, it's going to be crazy because you got everybody's fighting for wins right now, especially in our league, and it makes it tough. But we are, trying to keep our RPI where it should be, trying to get better as a team and take care of business each weekend.
RPI sitting at 6, strength of schedule sitting at 3. We were talking earlier, Coach. I mean, even if you want to look at the SEC standings and say these 3 or 4 teams are kind of at the bottom of the league, it's almost like when you look up at the results from the weekend, even those teams at the bottom of the league are finding a way to get at least a win. It's so hard. How do you describe how difficult it is week in, week out? Maybe I shouldn't say it. I'll just let you.
Yeah. No, it don't matter what you're going into. If you're walking in to play Vanderbilt or you're walking in to playing somebody who hasn't had as many wins, it's the SEC, and you got great players everywhere. And all it takes is a couple really good players to have a good game, a pitcher to have a great game. And like I said, we're all fighting. We're all fighting for these wins. Some teams are fighting to host. Some teams are fighting to get in the SEC tournament. And it's the best coaches in the country, or some of them, and it's also some of the better players in the country, and they're not going to quit. And so, we still got our work in front of us because we're playing some good teams. Some haven't played as well as others during times, but they all have the potential to play great on weekends.
Coach, this is sort of a big picture question here, because you said yesterday, and you were talking about Fristow and the decision where to bring him in and bring him out, and you started talking about the splits. And I know you're a coach that likes analytics, and you buy into them, and I do too. But when you're a coach, do you have to be fully committed to analytics? Or is there ever a time in a game where you just say, look, I know the numbers say this, but my gut says that, and that's what we're going to do?
No, definitely. I mean, I think it's a half and half. I mean, we don't lean totally on our analytics stuff. You got to use your eyes some and your gut a little bit too. And so, as you're fighting through some of that and trying to figure it out, obviously once they hit a home run, you didn't make the right decision, is what happens. I mean, it's that's an easy one, right? I mean, it doesn't happen much. I feel like I have the best pitching coach in the country, so we spend so much time prior talking about moves and games, and then during the game we have an open line of communication. And obviously if I could go back and do it again, I'd probably put somebody else in, but I felt like Jackson still had good stuff, and some of the better stuff that he'd had all year. I thought he really came out. Last couple of weekends, he hadn't been as good, and I thought he was really good. We kill him in the fourth. We don't make enough plays. So he gives up 2 runs, but they're probably really unearned runs. And as he comes out in the fifth, we were ready to make a change. We were making a change in there soon, but obviously didn't make it at the right time. That's on me. I'm the head coach. It's I can handle that. It's on me of not pulling a guy or putting another guy in. But we do have a lot of confidence in Jackson Bristow.
Chris, different people treat the shift differently. And something I feel like I've seen more of is teams that aren't necessarily fully embracing the shift, but then they do with 2 strikes. What's the rationale behind that?
So what happens with 2 strikes is it's not really buying in or not. Like when you see us move with 2 strikes, or Vanderbilt did it a lot, it's the bumper hit's taken away once you get to 2 strikes.
Okay.
So you have to play a guy, like let's say when we have a big left-handed hitters very rarely hit ground balls to the left side. It doesn't matter who it is. If you just took all the left-handed hitters in the history of the game, they don't hit many grounders to the left side of the field. So you have to keep your third baseman there to honor the bunt if you have a bunt for hit guy. And as soon as you get to 2 strikes, you'll see Cameron James jump across the field and play defensively on that other side, just because they're not going to. You hope they bunt with 2 strikes because the chance of getting it down is hard, but nobody does it. So that's what you're seeing a lot of times when you see it with 2 strikes and you see guys start moving again. They're moving from the bump for hit. So. But we do it a lot. We shift a lot. I mean, we're a team that shifts a lot.
Sure.
We buy into it, and our guys spend a lot of time. I mean, we're fortunate here. We have enough staff and player development and everybody that's researching and watching. And does it always work? No. And when it doesn't work, somebody's always pissed. But our kids understand, and our coaches understand inside our dugout. Not that we're always happy. It stinks when it does, but it just works a lot more than it does. And I tell my kids all the time, they're trying to take it away in the big leagues, because it's taking away offense. It works at such a high level in the big leagues that they're trying to make a rule where you can't shift. And so it's a reason that we should try to gain an advantage.
Maybe this is an elementary question, so forgive me. Why do you hopscotch the third baseman beyond the shortstop? Is it just a range thing with the shortstop as opposed to just kind of shifting everybody to the right?
Hey, that's one of the biggest fights we have in our office. So so when we first did it in 19, we would shift everybody over, and that spot on the other side of second base is where the most balls are at, so that's where your shortstop should be. But I ended up with Foscue over there on the left side of the infield all by himself, and so we decided to start, and that's one reason then you saw Foscue move to second later in the season. But we keep our shortstop there. Other teams flip it the other way, like you're saying. So I just like my shortstop to stay in his spot, That's just my preference, and my whole staff doesn't agree on that. So it's kind of something that we fight about. But I just like having my shortstop in his normal spot. That's right. I do get a higher vote, but we talk about it a bunch. It's not an easy decision, and you see some teams do it and some teams not. But we put our third baseman, and it'll always change with our personnel. But Cam was a shortstop. Cam's played the middle infield a lot, so we feel like he can play there and be as comfortable as most. Some third baseman like Foscue, we weren't sure at that point of him putting him over there where, at the shortstop spot.
Last thing for you. You are the general manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you have the number 1 pick in the draft. You taking Jack Leiter or Kumar Rocker?
Well, I'm going to tell you, just from what I've seen, Kumar beat us in Omaha, and Kumar was even better the other night. I'm probably taking Kumar Rocker and seeing if I could trade for Jack Leiter. But they were both really good. But Kumar's at the top for me right now. We have faced, our team, and we've talked about it. You go back to, we went to Arlington and we took Texas's ace, who was supposed to be in the first couple picks. And then we had TCU's supposed to be in the first couple pick. LSU's starter before he got hurt. We had to face Hill. He's a first rounder. And then we get Hoagland and Nikhazy. And now we've had Rocker and Leiter. We have faced, possibly 8 or 10 of the first round picks. It's been a crazy year for us of facing some high level arms, and tip our hat. We're not the most offensive team out there, but our kids compete, and they've had success in a lot of those games.
Hey, thanks for the insight. And Auburn. Mike Bianco joins us right now on the Farm Bureau phone line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team. Mississippi Farm Bureau. Rebels lose 2 of 3 this weekend to LSU, but win Game 3 in as dramatic a fashion as you will find. Coach, what with a couple of days now to reflect, what's your takeaway from the weekend that was?
Wow, a lot of it, I guess, a roller coaster of emotions as you've seen, Richard. It just wasn't looking good for us, come, Game 3 on Saturday, and, where we've been so close, over the last couple weekends of, winning that second game and winning the weekend. Had some really good competition. We kind of hit a season low where we just weren't playing well, and we're down 9-1, and just really proud of our guys the way they just hung in there. It would have been easy to kind of not that you're supposed to, but just through human nature, go through the motions. But our guys, continue to fight, continue to compete, and they opened the door a little bit, and we got some base runners on, and then hit some homers and got back into it. Just again, proud that our guys stayed in the fight.
Chatagniers' 3-run home run gets you within that 4-run territory where a grand slam could tie it up. I don't know that you go into an inning expecting to hit a 3-run home run and a grand slam. So Chatagniers' home run was kind of a no-doubter to left. From your view, what did you think off the bat of McCant's grand slam?
Didn't know. Once I saw Giacomo, take off running backwards. Once anything, I think that day got over somebody's head, you thought, the wind may get it. We saw that earlier in the game with Dugas's ball. When I saw McCants going back to the wall, you go, wow, that may get out. So off the bat, I wasn't really sure, but I just really watched their center fielder, and as he continued to go back, you go, man, that's got a shot. And, of course, the place erupts, once it goes over the wall.
You make the decision on Tuesday to bring Kemp Alderman into the mix, a guy that looked like was going to redshirt. He gets the start, I guess, on Tuesday night and has 1 hit, and then you get him a couple of at-bats in the weekend. I'm assuming what you saw in terms of the walk-off is the reason that you say, let's put this guy in the lineup and see what happens?
Yeah, obviously Kemp was like a lot of them, prize recruit, a highly ranked player, in that recruiting class. And what happens to a lot of freshmen, he had a tough fall. He's a kid that's a dual position player, slash pitcher, but struggled at both. And then, at the end of the fall, we just said, hey, we're gonna press pause on the pitching. We think your best shot, is, offensively at least, from the start, to get on the field. And then we started in January and just felt like he wasn't going to get the at-bats this year, and made a decision, after a couple weeks in the season that, hey, listen, we haven't got you in. I don't want to just run you out there for an at-bat or two this year. Let's redshirt. But to his credit, he continues to work like you hope that everybody's going to do when they redshirt, that they continue to, to press forward, to not just get, disappointed that they're not going to play, but to use the time as wisely as possible. And so he spent time with Coach Clem in the cages and in the pitcher versus hitter scrimmages where some of the red shirts versus and some of the guys that aren't playing as much have kind of live scrimmage, kind of sim games, if you will, on the field. He's really been terrific. And then when you watch him in batting practice, he takes batting practice like nobody we've ever had here when you talk about power and the ball coming off his bat. And since Elko's gotten hurt, we've dressed him on the weekends for several weeks now, just to give us an extra catcher just in case of an emergency or something's happened. And then finally we just said, hey, when we look at when the starting lineup's out there, we don't have much depth on the bench. And so, if we pull the red shirt, at least we know he's an option. And so we decided to do that, and obviously thankful that we did.
What was his reaction when you told him, hey, we're going to pull the red shirt and we're going to use you?
He said, hell yes. That I think was the quote, hell yes.
Pretty solid reaction, I guess.
Yeah. I think, when you do that, kids always want to be on the field. They want to play. They believe in themselves. You don't get to this, point and play, in the Southeastern Conference, without having confidence and knowing that you can. And, but you want to make sure, hey, man, we're past the midway point. We're going to try. There's no guarantees, that you're going to get in. There's no guarantees, how much you're going to get in. But we think there's an opportunity. Do you want to try this? And that's when the hell yes came. I hope his mom's not. Maybe we should say heck yes.
Well, it is what it is, I suppose. Visiting with Mike Bianco, the head baseball coach at Ole Miss. You said a second ago not playing well, and I think you were referring specifically to defense. At times this year, this team has looked really, really good defensively, and at times they've looked a little lost. I don't know if that's the right word or not. What causes that? Anything that you've been able to put your finger on?
I mean, I don't know the exact answer, but it's at the end of the day, it's just really disappointing. It's disappointing as a coach, because these are things that are coachable. But when you can't run a bunt defense, you can't do some things, that was really disheartening when I, after game 2, we gave up 3 sacrifice bunts, and turned them into hits where, sacrifice means they sacrifice the out of the hitter to advance a runner. Well, we don't even take that out. We can't fundamentally get to the base or get to the ball. And, that was really disappointing. So we had a little, let's say, defensive strategy talk, and tried to straighten some things out on Saturday morning so we could at least give ourselves an opportunity defensively to field some bunts. But that's when you get to that point, that you're losing some of your confidence, you're losing some of your focus, and we had to kind of make an adjustment there. So again, defensively, we're not bad defensively. We've shown that even in the league, even with some of the errors on Saturday, or I guess it was Friday game 2. You look at our numbers. We're not a bad defensive club, but again, I think we were just in a bad spot, and thankfully, hopefully, we're not in that anymore.
I think everybody knows it's hard to win in the SEC. You start things out 6-0, back-to-back sweeps, which is really, really hard to do, but then 4 straight series losses, and now 4 series remaining. Certainly everything kind of that's an opportunity is still in front of you. What's the approach? What's the message to your team going into this final month of the regular season?
It's not much different than the beginning, but I think the way you just explained it is really the truth. And I know fans, it's easy to look down the road and see who you play, when you play them, who's ranked, how's the matchups, and that's what you do, for a living, and that's fine. I think that's what makes sports great. But the epitome of what we do is put the blinders on, put the earmuffs over your ears, and play today. Play this game, but don't even play this game. Play this at bat. Play this pitch, and just our league is so hard and it's so brutal that it's really not the best team that wins. It's the toughest team. They're all good. Anybody can win on any given day in our league. They're all good enough to win. It's the toughest teams that win, and so the toughest teams can handle the blows. Everybody gets walked off. Everybody has a walk off. Everybody has the ability. It's the teams that are tough enough to do it more days than not are the teams that end up winning at the end. And so that's what we hope and preach, that we're going to be tough enough to handle all of this.
So you say earmuffs for your team. It's your 21st season. You've had ups and downs along the way. Do you kind of do the earmuff thing so that if fans start grumbling over a month-long stretch, you don't hear that? You are able to stay locked in on what's going on?
100%. I learned a long time ago. Don't buy the papers. I don't even know how to get on a message board. I use Twitter to send my stuff out, but I don't, read the mentions or anything like that. It's not healthy, man. So, you got to stay in your lane and do what you're supposed to do. They pay me to coach the team, not to be a fan and be, that objective to listen to all the stuff. It's to, coach your team and do that. So yeah, put the earmuffs on and put the blinders on and run to the finish line.
South Carolina coming up this weekend. Coach, appreciate your time.